Enhance your projects with Bottango using servo control with Arduino Mega and the PCA9685 Servo driver. The items I'll be using in this video include the Arduino Mega, the PCA9685 Servo motor driver, terminal blocks, a 5-volt relay module, an RGB LED ring light. These do come apart, and I'll be using the outer ring. I'll be using male-to-male jumper wires and 2 MG995 servo motors. Power for the servo motors will come from the 5-volt 4-amp AC adapter. Power for the LEDs will come from the 5-volt 2-amp AC adapter. And both of those adapters will have a power connector on the end. The first thing you want to do is go to the Bottango website at bottango.com and download the software. It is free. I'll be downloading it for Windows, but you can also download it for Mac and Linux. Now we're to the point where we want to set up our item here, our object, which is going to be the pit droid. We want a representation of that, not an exact representation, but just something that resembles our pit droid, so we can add motors to it and make it move. So let's go to New Studio Project, and this is the viewport. This is where you'll see everything happen. Over here you'll see the parts list out as you add more parts to the viewport. Up here you have different tools for orientation, and so orientation and manipulation. Up here you have different tools such as the view tool, which I really haven't used much. We've got the move tool, and that has a shortcut of W on your keyboard. And then we have the rotate, which is E. We can rotate our object, and then we have the size tool. We can make our object bigger or smaller using the R key, or you can just click up here. And then there's this. I haven't used this yet, but maybe in the future. So come down here to create new part, and you can create all these parts right here: structures, joints, motors, which we'll use today, and then 3D models and media, which I have not used yet, custom events, which we'll use one, and dynamics, which I have not used yet. So let's get started by clicking sphere, because this our pit droid has a head, not perfectly circular, but again, you know, we just want a representation. So I want to make the head a little bit bigger. So if you're on the W, on the move tool, you can go ahead and hit R and then expand that out a little bit. Click and drag, right? And then I want this to be just above the plane. So I can come up here and click right here, and you can see the plane here. Now I will highlight that and hit W on the keyboard. Click on that arrow and drag it up. You can also drag it down. You can drag it left and right with the blue arrow here as well. So let's put it a little bit above the plane. Now I want to give the pit droid a neck, right? So go to create part, cylinder, looks kind of like a neck. Let's shrink it a little bit. R on the keyboard, make it a little bit skinnier. And I think that's fine. Looks good. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is add a light, because he has a light on the front of him. So we'll click on that. We'll click create part, cylinder. You know what? Let's not link them together just yet. Over here you can link things together. This up here is considered a parent, and this is considered a child. You can see that little arrow down there. This is a child, and it takes on the same characteristics as the parent. For instance, if I want to make the parent disappear, right, so I can see what's in there, I come up here and click the eye. Well, I've also made the cylinder disappear. So to prevent that just yet, we're going to go ahead and unlink them. So click and drag right up here. You'll see a line up here. Bam. Alright, so now we can make the sphere disappear, and we can see the eye, or the cylinder. Alright, so let's shrink the cylinder a little bit. You'll want to hit R on your keyboard, and we will make that a little thinner, maybe, if we highlight it. Alright, and that's fine. Make it a little bit smaller there. Now I'm going to, there are different ways you can look at different angles on your viewport with your mouse. So this is left click. I can click and drag. Right click I can move left and right, up and down, bottom and top, anywhere on the viewport. And if I click the scroll button and hold it down, I can move up and down, left and right. It kind of keeps you in a fixed position. Actually, I guess you'd call this a fixed position. And this is kind of like free movement. Yeah, that sounds good. But anyway, so what we'll do is look at it from the side. I want to look at it from, okay, get my orientation here. Now let's go look at it from the side. I want to tilt the thing forward because the eye's not looking straight out of the top of the head, right? So click on E, or type E on your keyboard, and spin this thing horizontal, right? Looks good enough to me. Now W, and then we'll drag this thing out. Yeah, it looks like it's looking down a little bit. Not that it matters, but yeah, whatever. It's just, that's fine. Now I want to make the sphere reappear. Click on sphere, make it reappear. Now, let's make the sphere a little bit bigger. So R, and make it a little bit bigger. There we go. Click on this cylinder here, and we'll move it up because the eye's a little up. It's not on the center of the head. So that looks fine. Doesn't look exactly like my pit droid, but we're just going for a representation, right? So now we can connect the cylinder to the sphere, and anything the sphere does, the cylinder will do. Like moving left and right, it will take the cylinder with it. Next thing we're going to do is create a joint. And this is where our movement will happen. So let me, Control Z will go to the previous move that you have made. So I'm going to, for instance, if I move this up and I want to go back, Control Z, just like other software programs. Alright, so I'm going to look at the preview. I want to know how this moves, right? So I can click on preview over here while it's highlighted. And I see that it's moving. And it is, okay. It's moving horizontal. Let's go ahead and let's just add a servo motor to it. So it's highlighted. I click on servo, and it is linked as a child to the joint, right? So now let's click on the joint, preview. We can also move this around because it looks like it's kind of looking left and right to the back side, right? So let's do E. Whoops, let's highlight it first. E, and then grab this green line right here and spin it around. Just like that. And nothing's perfect. Doesn't have to be. We're just going for a representation. Okay. That doesn't look straight. That looks a little straighter. Alright. Now let's do preview. Okay, that looks better. It looks like it's actually going in the direction that I want it to go. So now let's go to W on the keyboard. Click and drag this up. Now your sphere, you want it to pivot from the center, right? It can pivot from different areas. Top, bottom, left, right, forward. We want it to be the center. So let's move this to the center because that's where it will pivot from. And if I circle around that, I can see that that's almost in the center. That looks like it's more in the center, right? Yeah. So now let's connect the sphere to the joint. Alright, so the sphere is now a child of the joint, and the cylinder is a child of the sphere, which is a child of the joint, which is, you get it. So let's click on the joint, click preview. Now he looks left and right, or she, or whoever. Alright, so let's create another servo motor. So click out here in the space, create, and let's do a joint. Scoot this out. We want our joint to go up and down instead of left to right. So right away we know that we need to change the orientation of this. So while it's highlighted, hit E on your keyboard, and we are going to turn it that way. That looks good enough for me, and then we will turn it that way, and then we will preview. I think it's good. Preview. It looks like it's rotating in the right position, forward. If it were rotating and it looked like the rotation was in the back, we would turn it around. So let's go ahead, and while that is highlighted, create part, attach a servo motor to it, and then now you can look at the orientation. Preview. Okay, so looks fine to me. Let's go ahead and link this servo motor to it by clicking link motor. Let's go to the other joint and link motor, and it'll give you the option of the two motors. This is the one I want to link with that one. Alright, so let's click on the joint down here, and we will move this up and into the center here because it says the center pivot. So click on joint, click W on your keyboard, move it up. Now if you just move, let's go to Control Z. If you just move this, it's not all going to move, right? You're going to leave the joint behind. Control Z. What we need to do is click on joint, move it up, move it over to the center, and it can be anywhere. It doesn't have to be perfect. Alright, that's the theme of this, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. And now we are going to put the sphere under this joint. So now let's see how that works out. Preview. Okay. Preview. Oh. So let's put this joint under that joint. Okay, now everything should work. Let's do preview and preview. Yeah, I think it's going to be good. And the next thing we'll do is go to Animate. Alright, so here's your animation track. I guess is what you'd call it. This is for 10 seconds. If you want to change that, come up here to default animation, click on that, and you can change the seconds here. We'll do 15, but you can do 30, you can do minutes, you do whatever. Let's just do 12. I don't want it to be real long. So, okay. And now it's extended it out to 12. You can do 20, 30, whatever. Alright, so now we want something here to move, right? So we come down here, we've got a graph, and we've got this thing called dope. So let's go to graph, and let's add a track. Then the track we want to, what makes this easier is let's name these joints, right? This joint, let's go back to build and name these joints. This joint will be called preview left right joint. Okay? Left right joint. And then the servo motor will be left right servo. And then this joint will be called up down joint. And then the servo will be up, down, servo. Alright, and then for the servos, we'll set these up here in just a minute. Let's go back to Animate. Alright, so now we're at the animation thing here, and we want to add a track. So we want to add joint track because that's where the motion is. So select the joint. Let's just do left right, and we're going to start out by every time you click this, it's kind of it's a point. What do they call it? A keyframe. All right, so I just add some keyframes. Whoops, click on that, and another keyframe, and another one, and another one. Maybe a couple close together, maybe, and then one more. And then you always want to add one at the end. At least I think you do. Alright, so add one at the end. Now, go to graph, and we can adjust this right here. So if you want to know what direction that is right. That's looking right. And then this would be left, right? And then you can move these in different directions, and you can actually twist this to make it turn sharp and just do different things with it. See how that's like a sudden turn right there? So we'll just do that. And you can even move these points too if you're not happy with where they are. And then this will come down here, and then we will do like a sharp return to normal, right? Because that's where it started out at 0.5. So now if we go back here and click on play, you'll see it move left and right, right? According to our graph down here. So we're going to do the same thing with the up-down joint. So we've got to come down here to create or add track, joint track. This is the only one I have left, and we're going to do the same thing with it. So I'll be right back. Okay, I've created a track here for the up-down joint. So let's rewind it all the way back here to the beginning and hit play, and you can see how the object, how my little pit droid will react here. Alright, play. It's just kind of all over the place, right? But we can make this go in whatever direction we want. Okay, so that's what that does. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is go back to the build tab up here, and I want to click on my servos. Alright, so we've got our servo connected to the I2C servo driver, so keep that in mind. We'll go down here. We're going to use default servo, or default driver. Come down for connection, IC squared pin. The IC squared pin for this servo driver is 040. Alright, see 0x40. And then the pin will be for this one. This is the up-down pin, or the left-right pin. That's our, we call that our second. That's connected to pin 1. So keep that in mind. That's how mine's set up anyway. That is the one that moves it left and right. And come down here, and even though this is a 180 degree servo, I don't want to move it 180 degrees for this particular model. I want to use a 120 degree rotation. So then I come over here to then I come down to the next one, and I do the same thing for it. This one's connected to pin, actually. I click on pin, it's IC square as well, the same IC square address, and that is pin 0. So it starts at 0, and the next one is 1. I come down here, and I change this to 120 degrees as well. Alright. Now the last thing we want to do is add our light to the project. So let's go to create part. Let's go to on-off trigger. And we can just leave this anywhere. We'll just leave it right there. And then we want to go to Animate. Then we want to add another track. We want to go to Custom Event, I do believe. And we will start here at the beginning. Add a frame, add a keyframe here of on. Wait a minute here. So it's off there. Let's turn it on here. Right? There we go. We can get rid of this one. So, well, click on that and turn it on over here. And we can scoot this back so that turns on almost at the beginning, and it will take it all the way to the end, where we will turn it off. Just like that. There we go. It's on, as you can see right here, and it should go off once it gets here. There we go. And we're going to move our on-off event up here to the top. Put that little line right up there so it's not connected to anything. And we're going to go over here and set it to pin 2, because that's where I have it on the Arduino board, pin 2. So everything else looks good. That's all you need to do for that part. And the next thing you want to do is open up your library for Arduino and go to the Bottango. Click that, go into the Arduino driver folder and open the Arduino driver sketch. Now that we've opened the code, you'll see several tabs, and these tabs are up here for different reasons. Sometimes they're up here because it's easier to manage projects. It's better organized. It could have better performance for your project if you got a big project, and this seems to be a fairly good size project, I suppose. So let's go to the Bottango Arduino config, and I'm using the Adafruit Servo, so I need this library right here. So we're going to uncomment that. And if you don't have this, you want to download it. And if you need to download it, there's a couple ways you can do that. You can click over here on the library and you can do a search for it, and you can download it from here, or back on the Bottango you can download it as an option right here under status. When you're doing your download, click the little box, you can download it there. So you want to make sure that that is, if you're using the servo driver, you want to make sure that that is uncommented right there. And if you're using the computer to control your animation at the moment, you want to make sure that that is commented. You don't want to use that. That is for after you upload your code to the board, you would uncomment this section right here so that it can run independently from your computer. But for now, we'll just leave it like that. Now let's go back to Bottango. Well, actually, let's install this, or upload this. And it's uploading. Alright, so now let's go back to Bottango. Here's a look at my wiring. As you can see, not many wires connected to the Arduino Mega. I got my relay here for the lights, and that's the plug for the lights, the 5 volt 2 amp. And then here I've got my servo board, and then there's the plug for that, the 5 volt 4 amps. I'm using the terminal blocks because I don't like to run over 1 amp of power through the breadboard. Here's a look at the diagram, maybe a little more helpful to you. Now that we've finished the part setup for the LED light, which is the on-off event here, and both servo motors, it's time to go over here to the hardware, set that up. So come over here, you notice it's all off. Click on drivers, set up the drivers first. And we're going to use the default driver. If you wonder where that's coming from, go back here to Animate, and this is the default driver. If you created another driver and it's new animation or whatever you happen to name it, it's going to be different down here. It's going to be a different motion or whatever than your default, right? So be sure to select the correct driver according to the project that you're wanting to export. So that's where that comes from. I'm going to go ahead and delete this because I do not have another animation. So we'll go back to hardware and drivers. And so we're going to use the default driver, and we're going to select the port. And I need to plug in my Arduino. And we're going to select port. And I'm on COM24. So select that. Down here at status, you may have to download the driver for the board that you're using. Although I've already downloaded it, I'm going to go ahead and download it again so that you'll know what you should expect to see. So I'll click OK, and here you can download the library for the servo driver if you want. But I'm using Arduino Mega, so I'm going to select the Mega, and it'll download. I downloaded it for the Arduino Mega. You may be using the Uno or the Nano. And if you're using the PCA9685 driver, be sure to download the Adafruit library here, or download it in the IDE like I showed you earlier. But be sure that it's in your Arduino library folder. Next thing we'll do is go over here to status, and we'll go ahead and we'll turn on the master, and then we'll turn on the driver on COM24. Looks like COM24 is busy, so click OK. We'll go to our sketch, and sometimes you can just click that X right there and then try it. Let's see if that works. Turn that on. Still busy. So we can just go shut our sketch down. And now we can try it again. It should come on. And we can turn on the other three. And I heard my robot start up here. And I can give you a little video of what the robot will be doing. We'll go over to Animate, and it should work once we click on this. Now you'll see the on-off event under Dope, but if you click Graph, you'll see it disappear. We're going to watch the graph. I added a 5-second delay here so that I could export this as a loop, and instead of having a trigger activate the robot head, I will just have a 5-second delay, and it'll be on a loop where it'll go over and over with 5-second delay. Now you can do 10-second, 20-second, minute, whatever. Or if you have a switch, you can activate it through a switch of some sort, either motion sensor or button or whatever. So, and then to do this, to add the 5 seconds, I go up here, and then I just added 5, 1 to 12, so 17 seconds. You can add a minute, and then so you do OK. It stretches this out here, and we just put nothing there, so it'll just kind of hang out until it starts over back here at the beginning again, and it'll do a loop. Alright, so let's do play. There's my 5-second delay. Now it should start up. Well, actually, I gotta click it on the computer. So there we go. And then there's my 5-second delay, and I want to export it as a loop. It'll just start over. Alright, so now that's ready. Let's go ahead and export this. Come up here to export code. Well, let's shut this down first. Let's play it out. And then, alright, let's go to export code. Default animation, yes. I want to export the all three of these, and then the driver. And I want to export in my loop animation because I don't have an external trigger. So my 5-second delay will be kind of like the trigger, where it will go in a loop. And I want it to play animation on start. Export. And export. Let's just pick a folder for it to go into. Bottango. I think that'll be good enough. Alright, go here. There are my 3 files I just exported. And make sure you take those. I'm going to cut these. I'm going to put them in my animations folder. Paste. Now I'm going to go to, now I'm in this folder. This is my Bottango folder in Arduino, right? So Arduino driver folder. And you want these 3 files to be in this folder with your sketch and Arduino file. And the reason is because when you open this, you now have some new tabs up at the top, and one of those is the Generate Command Streams tab, which is the file that you put in your Bottango folder, And I like to put all three of them in there so I know where to find them all, but you need that one library in there. And now to use as a standalone project, we are going to go to the config, and we're going to uncomment this line right here so that it uses the command stream file that we just put in the folder. And now we're going to upload this to our board. But first, we need to go back to the Bottango and turn off all this stuff so that the serial port is open. Otherwise, you'll get an error. Alright, upload. It's uploading sketch. Alright. It's done and now it has started, and I'm going to unplug it and put a 9-volt battery in to power it up so that it's separate from the computer. Now I've completely unplugged it from the computer, and we're going to use a 9-volt battery to power the Arduino. And here you'll see the 12-second thing here. Now it'll stop for a 5-second delay, or whatever delay you decide to put in there, and it'll start back up, and it'll be on a loop. Alright, so that's how you export your code from Bottango to being a standalone mobile project like this. And this is how you set up your project specifically with the PCA9685 Servo driver. Here are some tips and reminders to help you in troubleshooting any issues you may have with your project. I hope this video has encouraged you to use the software to create your own animations. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them in the comment section below the video. If you found this helpful, be sure to like and subscribe and share it with somebody else who may find it useful, and I'll see you again next time.